everyone. We want to welcome you today to the We Are Flora Pearl podcast. I'm your host, Latasha J Humphrey, founder of the Flora Pearl Foundation, Incorporated. I'm super pumped to get into this podcast today. But before we get started, we want to let our audience know that this podcast is being brought to you by the Flora Pearl Foundation, where our vision is bridging the gap, building a legacy. Our mission is that we are a 501c3 community-focused nonprofit mentoring organization, building healthy relationships and partnerships between women and girls through education, community service, networking, unification, and career planning. Our inspiration is Flora Pearl Humphrey. She was my paternal grandmother, and although she passed away in 2001 of a massive heart attack, what she taught me and my family was about faith, family, and community. And that is where I draw my inspiration from. Now, audience, this beautiful gem, who you will hear from shortly, is one of my sister friends. We initially met in high school, and we were first part of a singing group together for a moment. She is one of our Phenomenal Faces of Greatness honorees, and she is one to be reckoned with. This powerhouse is making her mark in the world one day at a time. So without further ado, I present to you Sheree Adams. Hi, Sheree. How you doing?
Hey, yay! Hey, how are you? I'm good. I'm so excited. I love the introduction.
All right. Look.
I'm looking around the room like, who is she?
Right. Hot mess. Well, it is such an honor to have you with us today. And if you would, just go ahead and introduce yourself to our audience.
Well, it's an honor to be joining you. My name is Sheree Adams, and I am a blogger, and we'll get into the status of my blog at SmartnSassyMom.com. I am a registered nurse by degree, and I have been in administration for about 15 years now. My background is ICU nursing. I've been doing case management, and I'm ready to transition, and that too we'll get into. But healthcare is my passion, but even more so, mental health is also my passion. And we'll also speak more about that. I can't wait to talk to you.
Awesome. Well, definitely, we can start, with your blog and just kind of how you're in transition with that. If you want to go ahead and share, where did that name come from, and with you getting started, like how did that go?
All right. So, Smart and Sassy Mom started about 6 years ago. And my husband, who travels a lot, as a matter of fact, let me just start there. I'm happily married. My husband of 12 years. It'll be 12 years in 3 weeks. And I'm a mother of 3. He'll be 17 in a week. He'll be 10 in 3 days. And a 5-year-old. And that's a son and 2 daughters. And they are just my life, and they're my world. And I am because of who they are, who they make me. I started the blog because of them. I was learning about them every day, and I was scratching my head saying, they don't come with a manual. I'm reading. I'm looking at other blogs. I'm Googling things, and being away from my family, originally from Alabama, but at the time I was living in Philadelphia. I was on an island. And even though I had a great support system of newly found friends, everybody raises their children differently. So I began to realize that I would remember things that my grandmother did for me and my mother did for me, and what my friends around me were doing. But sometimes I wanted to do things my way. So once I realized, hey, I did this with this child and this worked, and I did this with this child and this worked, I was like, hey, I think I'm kind of smart. And, of course, I got the name Sassy because if you mess with Mama Bear's cubs, anybody can get a little sassy.
Okay,
so
right.
Just the name. Just the name, Smart and Sassy Mom. And I thought that was aptly named because a lot of women that I know fit the same description. I'm quite sure you feel the same way.
Right. No, that's beautiful. And I mean, and even with that, it seems to be, it definitely seemed to have been a platform for you to let your voice be heard, and then to be able to network with different people of like interests. And I wanted you to share some tips with someone who may be an aspiring blogger. That's something they really want to go into. What's kind of ways that they can start doing it? What would you suggest?
All right. Well, I could only suggest things from my own personal experience, and I started blogging because I wanted to share some of the things that I was learning. I felt confident enough that somebody else could benefit from different things that I was learning about how to listen to your children, even though it may not feel like it's important, and we have to run out the door to go to work, and we have to get them out of the door to go to school. What they're saying to you is important. So I did a blog post on that. I also did on how to talk to your children about racism, being in the suburbs. It was really important to me that other people knew that, if they were in that particular situation, that you're not alone, and this is how you handle it. You don't have to rob your children of their innocence to tell them that, these are the way some people feel in this world, and even though it's not right, this is how mommy and daddy deal with it, and this is how we want you to deal with it, because you are beautifully and wonderfully made, and you're God's children, and, you're our children. And so, little things like that. And if they want to do it, they have to make sure that it is passion. If not, it will become a chore. And if it becomes a chore, then, who else? I don't know anybody who has room in their day or their life for one extra thing that doesn't bring them joy.
Wow.
So, if it comes from the heart, it'll be easy. And it's also a great way to meet like-minded people. There's several blogger conferences. Some of them are very expensive and others are not, because just like, some people are starting to blog, some people are starting to, bring up these conferences in areas and local places near you. So, if you were thinking about it, the thing is to find a blogger. I'm sure they have a contact us logo on their website or their blog, and reach out to them. I have yet to meet a blogger or to reach out to one blogger, big, extra big or large, medium, small, that has not replied to me, or a rep replied to me when I reached out to them, because they understand that they too had to start somewhere. So,
wow.
If you want to be a mom blogger, look up mom bloggers, see what they're talking about, and see, the type of things that, you're interested in. If you're interested in fashion, then by all means, who are your favorite fashion bloggers? See how they're doing it. And also look up blogging conferences in the area before you even become a blogger, just to see what kind of networks and connections can be made, because, people give out their cards, and sponsors love bloggers. If you want free stuff, if you want to make extra money for a side hustle, you can start blogging, as long as you make sure that you're on Facebook, social media, Instagram, Twitter, because they want hits, they want clicks, and they want followers. And so if you can get their name brand out there, they'll pay you something, or they'll give you some free stuff just to help make their life a little bit easier. So I've enjoyed it, even though I've had to take a hiatus. I've enjoyed it. I've met some amazing people who I would never have ever met before if I hadn't started blogging. So, I suggest if anybody wants to do it, make sure it's something that they're really passionate about writing about.
Perfect. Well, that's definitely some great information, and I know it will definitely help someone. And what I wanted to do was segue into kind of dealing with raising brave girls, and I know you mentioned them earlier. You have two princesses, that are truly simply adorable, and in this day and time, as it relates to our girls, there's so many images that they see, and even if your girls, if they've seen certain things, or even if they haven't yet, there'll be be certain things they may be exposed to via social media or just the media period. And I just wanted you to share, as a mom, how are you preparing your girls, to be brave and to respect themselves and love themselves despite what other people may think or say?
Well, I talk to them a lot. Not so much in detail to the 5-year-old as yet. However, the one that'll be 10 in 3 days, she has been exposed to much more in her 10 years than I was when I was 10. The 10 is almost the new 15 because, social media, even though she doesn't have a social media account, she has a little Musical.ly account with 15 friends, and I know the mom. But she, with social media being out there and other peers have social media, they talk about that stuff on the bus. They talk about it in the cafeteria at school. They talk about it at summer camp. And there's also television. Television prime time is not the same television that we grew up with. So despite how covered and protected and shielded as we want our kids to be, the world has a way of manipulating and maneuvering its way into the hearts and the minds of our children. Mm-hmm. So with that being said, I know I don't live with my head in the sand. I know that she is aware of certain things. And I'm a news junkie. And every now and then she'll catch a glimpse or, they'll hear something and they'll go, well, what was that about? And, why are they protesting? And I just tell them, I give them to them point blank. So I digress. When we talk about images and what to do and what not to do, I'm quick to point out, this is what you don't want to do.
Right. I'm
really, really quick to say, this is what we don't do. And I have a catchphrase, Adam's girls don't behave like that. Wow. Or Adam's girls, they don't talk like that. So I try to model myself the way I want to have them, what's the word I'm looking for? If I how children mock you or it seems like though they're trying to impersonate you by putting on lipstick or wearing high heels around the house. I basically, if I'm going to be an example, and the first example that they see when they wake up in the morning, and I want to be a good role model to them. So I'm constantly telling that 10-year-old, listen, no, you see that? What do you think? What do you think men think about her? Or how would you feel if I dressed like that? Or how would you feel if I behaved like that? Or better yet, this is one thing because her dad is her heart. How would your father feel if you did that?
Right.
How do you think your dad would, how would he react?
Yeah.
And so what I try to do is just tell her right now, your integrity and your word and your name, they follow you everywhere. When people see you coming, they want to have a smile on their face, not a smirk or a frown. So, as children of God and as citizens of this world, what I try to make sure that they know is be a good person, be a good friend, be an example, be the light of Jesus for somebody who may not know him. So with all that, I try not to be too preachy, but I try to be relatable, and I try to keep it real with them so they'll understand as they grow to be comfortable in your skin, be comfortable being modest, be comfortable with your kinky, coily hair, Just be comfortable in your own skin and walk with your head up because you're beautiful, you're wonderfully made, and you have a family who loves you and God loves you.
Yeah. And that's awesome. And just like you were saying, even keeping it, just straight into the point, I wanted to, move into, when you made the post, that you posted on Instagram as it relates to, our young people and suicide. And I know you talked earlier about just even mental health being, something that you have a passion about. And your statement was, your child's mental health is more important than their grades. And, you followed up with the statement that their minds are underdeveloped, unlike their bodies sometimes, and the facades that they feel pressured to maintain. And so just for our audience, I wanted you to kind of elaborate on that more, and what you were saying with that.
Okay. Well, I know just now we were mentioning my 10-year-old, but I do have a 17-year-old son.
Mm-hmm.
And he had a reading assignment. And I saw on his dashboard that he was supposed to read 13 Reasons Why.
Right.
And they were going to have a discussion about it. Well, I've seen on social media that people were watching a Netflix series called 13 Reasons Why. Oh, sparked my interest. What is my kid reading? What are they talking about? So I had one of those Netflix binging moments where I had a Friday, a Saturday, and a Sunday where things were kind of low-key. And as I cleaned, I watched it. As I relaxed, I watched it, and I was done with it in 2.5 days. And it was about a young lady. I won't give a spoiler, but it was about a young lady who committed suicide.
Mm-hmm.
And while part of that, I won't get too detailed into it, while part of that glamorized the suicide, I was a little bit disappointed in that because people are very impressionable. And, you know, it won't tip over anybody who has not even thought about it, but it could tip people over the edge of the impressionable ones who have teetered with the idea, people who, you know, think that, you know, it's an easy way out, and they just don't think about the cost of their families who would lose them and, you know, the aftermath the havoc that would wreak on them. I say mental health and the kids because a lot of times we're so focused on their grades. For young men, we want them to, you know, stay out of trouble, don't get in trouble with the law, don't deal with drugs. And, you know, we just think grades. And for the girls, we just want to make sure that they're being, you know, young ladies and that they're staying out of trouble. But the pressures that they deal with are magnanimous. They're just so overwhelming to dress a certain way, to have certain name brands, to have a certain status, pressure to have sexual relations. And a lot of times they don't want us to be worried. They don't want us to have to deal with it, or they don't want us to get involved because they think they got it. And a lot of times they don't got it.
Mm-hmm.
So with that being said, sometimes we have to take the focus off grades, and we want everybody to have a great and solid future, and we want to make sure that their future is better than what we had, but at the same time, we need to make sure that we're asking them, are you okay? Is everything okay at school? Even if you have to just break the ice by making, you know, subtle little statements. What was the best part of your day? What was the worst part of your day? You don't have to just get into details because a lot of times, especially if you're not, if it's not a habit for you guys to have those daily conversations and for you to pick their brains, I don't know about you, but the average teenager will be a little standoffish.
Right.
They'll be like, well, what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
What are you asking me these questions for? What's out of your sleeve?
Right.
So, you know, just subtle things. Oh, boy, I had a bad day at work today. Well, wait a minute. Before I start telling you about my day, how was yours? You know, and then if you really, it may take a few days. It may take a few weeks. But it takes, you know, 2 weeks to make a habit. So if you really want to start, you know, talking to your child and assess their mental health, you know, and just try to see if they have good friends, if they have close friends. If you don't hear the same names come up, you know, that could be a red flag that your child may have trouble. All these years you didn't know it, making and keeping friends. And I won't get into, you know, that's another segment for another day, but, you know, just signs and symptoms of depression, if they are sleeping a lot, if they don't find any joy in any sports activities or any extracurricular activities or any music, or not necessarily being in the band, but just listening to music, things that naturally bring children and people joy.
Mm-hmm.
If they are not engaging in any of those things, that could be a sign of depression.
Right.
We put sometimes pressure on our children to perform in certain ways. And I'm a victim of it. I know I had to fall back and not be a helicopter in a tire mom because I feel like I was causing undue stress on my son. And so once I fell back a little bit and I realized that he is not me, I'm not going to make him who he is. He is already who he is. We began to have a better relationship. So I know I can be a little long-winded, but it's my passion, the mental health of everybody. But for these young people, it's extremely important because they're in some really formidable years, and they're all, they're ours, and they are our future.
Yeah.
And they're so impressionable, and they're weaker than they really think they are, but they're stronger than ever. That's an oxymoron, but you'll get it later.
Right. Well, with that, and I just kind of wanted to follow up with that with your son. I mean, was it just kind of at some point did he say something to you, or you just kind of recognized I need to fall back?
I recognized I needed to fall back because I was pressuring him to make a higher grade. If he made a B, I was pressuring him to make an A. If he was not performing well or not doing so well on the test, I was stressing him out, just trying to say, you need to study more, you need to do this. But guess what? I was an AB student, and sometimes I put my mind to it. I was a straight A student, but he's not me.
Right.
And what I was doing was I was impressing myself. I was forcing who I was and who I wanted him to be was different from who he is. And so once I realized that, okay, I want him to be well-rounded. That's more important to me too. Be well-rounded. Be a person of many, many talents. He plays sports. He's in the band. He does community service, and he does well in school.
Yeah.
So with all that, I think it's really important that he have all of these attributes to make him a more well-rounded individual rather than a straight A student. So I will just say that, and you know what, you asked me what happened. I do recall him saying, "Mom, I'm not you." And that was a real telltale moment because I realized then that I'm going to drive this boy crazy. He's right. And we do learn a lot from our children, whether it's, point blank and, in your face, or whether it's subtle. But he said, "Mom, I'm not you." I said, okay, you're right.
No, and I think, with that, though, Sheree, I commend you for hearing him. I mean, so many times, and not even, I mean, definitely with our children, and, but even with adults, like, you just want to be heard, you want to know, like, somebody's listening, they hear you, but it's definitely when it comes to them, they want to see you being able to do that with people, and then, but also with them, I feel like you empower them to do that, to be able to say, to even voice that. Because I remember, at some point not really being able to do that growing up sometimes. Sometimes you just held it. You just was like, well, I'll deal with it how it is.
I'll deal with it my way. Yep,
Right.
I'll keep it to myself.
Right.
Yep, I'll get through this. That's right.
So I love that. I mean, with that should be something that you feel proud on and that you acted on it. Like, you heard him, and then he knows, because from this point forward, I feel like he knows you're in his corner, and that with whatever, he can come to you. So I mean, that's just awesome. That's definitely you're welcome. That's definitely for someone to hear. And I wanted to kind of segue into the blended families. We see that more now than before. Even if it was before, it just wasn't really talked about. But when it comes to blended families and co-parenting and things like that, I really want to take it to the kind of to spin it, though, because I read an article, and Mashonda, and for I don't want to say her last name incorrectly, but it's Swiss B's ex-wife, and she kind of opened up about, with the blended family and the co-parenting, and we know, just kind of for the most part, it was a very high profile situation, and dealing with Alicia Keys and kind of the situation, it wasn't the best at the time, but I do see where she kind of has at this point, and I believe, then time can heal wounds when allowed. And I believe when you're ready to do that. And so nonetheless, like she was kind of asked, how would you advise women to kind of get past, any post relationship trauma and being able to be mature about it and things like that. And part of her answer was this, where she said, as women, we must recognize our powers. We are magical beings, supremely balanced with an amazing intuition. We must first forgive ourselves. Only then will we have the ability to forgive others. And that is the beginning of demonstrating maturity and dignity. And I just wanted to kind of get your take on that as it relates to after a blended situation, whether it was because you were married, got divorced, or because the relationship just didn't work out, or maybe you just kind of got together and y'all end up having a child out of it. What's your take kind of on that?
Well, it all depends on, and I commend Mashonda for her grace and her outlook, because really and truly, it's going to hurt nobody but the children in the end when you don't have a sense of forgiveness. But it all depends on what your situation is and how quickly you're able to forgive. I'm not going to tell anybody who was cheated on, to turn the other cheek and just, wake up the next day and forgive. That's a wound. And it's a lot of healing that needs to take place, a lot of forgiveness and time. A lot of time has to take place. And I'm pretty sure Mashonda didn't wake up the next day after she and Swizz broke up that, she wrote that piece.
Right.
A lot of time went into that.
Right.
But had to work some things out first.
Okay.
But I will say that I can only speak, I'm always quick to say I can only speak on my situation. And, personally, we were high school sweethearts, and we had been together off and on for years. And we just realized that we had just about waking up one day and realized that we've been doing this for all the wrong reasons, for all the wrong people, and weren't doing it for us. Well, by that time, I was pregnant, and we just realized that we would be the best co-parents that we could be for our little son. And I was blessed enough 2 years later to meet my present husband, and who took on the responsibility of being a ready-made family and an instant father. And 3 years later, we got married. And I'm not going to say it has been easy. It has been very difficult because, like I said, before my husband, my son's father and I were committed to him and to him first.
Right.
So we strive to make sure that we make decisions with him in mind, with his best interest. And when you come into that an established situation, you really don't know what to do with that. And we were friends before my ex and I were friends before we had a son, and our parents were friends. So that makes for a very difficult situation. But to me, it just makes things better. Everybody has to be mature, because guess what? Your parents are going to be your parents. Your parents are going to still remain friends and cordial no matter what you do. So it's best that one child that everybody has in common at this point sees nothing but love, nothing but maturity, nothing but adults getting along. Because if not, then they go, well, when I grow up, this is how I behave. When I grow up, this is how I'm going to act, because the two most important people to me, well, they behave this way. So, co-parenting, all I got to say is come to agreement, make sure that everybody's on the same page. And, when you blend that family again, now it's more people involved that have to be on the same page. You don't want anybody to have any misconceptions, any feelings to get hurt. So it's about a lot of communication. And is it all going to be roses and rainbows and unicorns? Nope. But as long as people understand where you're coming from, and that nothing of malice, will come of this. And just got to be open and honest because, at first it was me and my husband and my son. Then it was me and my son and my husband and my daughter. Then we grew. And with that, you have the dynamics of, okay, well, this is my dad and this is my dad. And so that adds a whole new, aspect to things. And so, again, you mature very, very quickly. You're forced to mature. You're forced to get it right, or at least try to. You may not get it right the first time, but you're just forced to say, listen, little girl, who was asking, why can't I go with Jelani and his dad? Well, you can't.
Right.
You just can't.
Right,
okay?
right.
So, and I feel like I desired from day one to be really laid back and cool and be the blended family that everybody admired and everybody used as an example. And I feel like I accomplished that to a certain degree.
Yeah.
So we still deal with things because this young man has always been close to his father, and you still have to deal every day with, am I doing the right thing? And as my husband, I don't envy him at all. He has a very thankless job as a step parent.
Yeah.
And and that's one more thing that I'm going to close with. Some people don't like to say step anything. Mm-hmm. But sometimes we have to acknowledge, especially if both parents are alive and well and involved, you don't want to discount the biological parents at all.
Absolutely.
So you acknowledge that step, but you say bonus, or you say it out of love, and you acknowledge people for who they are and how they've made you the person who you are and how they've contributed to your life. So, that's I leave that up to people, how they want to present their family, how they want to introduce their family, and then the labels that they add. But, we do sometimes use the word step or bonus because I'm alive.
Right.
He has a stepmom, and his dad is alive, and he has a stepfather. And, we all want the best for him. So it takes a lot of love, patience, and some tough skin to make this blended thing work.
Well, all right. That sounds good to me. Well, we're going to segue into community service. And so I know you're big on that as it relates to, just to being able to serve the community. And I wanted you to share with our audience just different ways that you do serve.
Mm-hmm. I feel like I was just born to serve. I feel like being a nurse is a very service-oriented and noble profession. Mm-hmm. I want to make sure everybody's okay. I want to make sure everybody's as happy as they could be. I joined an organization back in 2009, Jack and Jill, and that's our premise. Our premise and the basis of what we do is community service, because if you're blessed with a little, then you ought to be able to give a lot. So basically, I've been bitten by the bug, but I try to teach my children that, look at what you have. Look at the shoes on your feet. Look at the house you live in. Look at all of the extras that you have. We go into metropolitan cities, and we see people that are holding up signs for food, and, people that just don't have some of the things that, many people are blessed with, and that's food, clothing, and shelter. I try to make sure that any can drives we can participate in, any walks, anything related to health, the muscular sclerosis walk. I suffer from lupus. We got a lupus walk that's coming up. Anything, leukemia, lymphoma society, blood cancer, the breast cancer. I'm always walking, and I do that twofold. I do it so I can raise money and awareness, but I also try to get my butt out there and actually move, so I can get some steps in, get some Fitbit steps in. But I say the community service is one of my passions because it just brings me joy, and I feel like God said, listen, I'm going to bless you with this, and I'm going to see what you do with it. And every chance I get, I want to be able to say, see, I want to be able to have that label, and I want to be able to, for him to say, well done, good and faithful servant. So, a lot of people can sing, a lot of people can dance, a lot of people can cook, but I want to be able to serve. And, most recently I went on a mission trip, and that's another bug that bit me. I'm going to get ready to do that again next year.
Wow.
We went to Dominican Republic, and my son was busy with basketball and what have you, and I took my soon-to-be 10-year-old, who I just felt like, I'm taking one of these kids with me because I want them to see that the first world problems that you encounter, not having a charger, not having the exact food that you want on your menu every night for dinner, is really first world problems. And even though they cause you discomfort and they make you a little bit unhappy, at least you have food on the table.
Right.
And that you have more than a dirt floor, and that you're not sleeping on the dirt floor with bed bugs. And not bed bugs, but with bugs biting you and intestinal parasites.
Yeah.
So
wow.
I do that so that they can see what they need to be appreciative for, and I also do it because I think that's what I'm supposed to do. It's just serve, and give to others who can't maintain and obtain things for themselves, and I love it.
Wow. And I wanted to, I didn't know that you had been diagnosed with lupus. Like how do you handle it?
Oh, well, I handle it because I don't know any other way. I'll use this for a little, like a 60-second spot.
Okay.
Lupus is an autoimmune disorder that attacks women from ages 18 to 40, even though you could be diagnosed a little bit before that, and you also can be diagnosed a little bit older than 40. But it's chronic fatigue. It's chronic body aches. And if you have sun allergy, if you just can't tolerate being in the sun, you get a rash. If you think that you got arthritis and you really shouldn't be aching the way that you are aching at a young age, you can go to your doctor and they'll draw some blood. And if your blood work comes back, they can tell you that in addition to some of the ways that you have been describing your fatigue or your pain or your ailment, then if your blood work matches that, then there's a likelihood that you probably have lupus. But it's an autoimmune disorder where, your body is attacking itself.
Okay.
And it's a very chronic and agonizing disease that can not only make you feel lousy, it can attack your organs, because autoimmune just means that I'm attacking myself. So if your muscle tissues are attacking themselves, that's not good. If your kidneys are just, attacking themselves, then that's not good, because it can stop functioning. So I'm blessed to not have been hospitalized, but I am trying to eat right. Okay. I am trying to take a lot of supplements, and I'm just basically trying to live a less stress. I can't live stress-free, because like I said, I'm married with 3 kids, and that within itself can be stressful sometimes, but I'm trying to eat right. I'm trying to do the right things, and I'm trying to take care of me, because I want to be here for a while.
Yeah.
So, I encourage everybody to just Google lupus, because, it's one of those things that a lot of people have heard of, but they just don't know exactly what it is, and it affects a lot of African-American women. And if you just can't put your finger on it and you just don't know why you're not feeling well, don't just walk in there thinking that you have lupus, but kind of do some research and ask your doctor to draw some blood just to see, what's going on with your body. So, yes, I am diagnosed for a year, and I've been doing quite well.
Okay. Well, I just want to let you know, sister, that, just as always, continue to pray for you, but definitely I speak healing to you, and just peace within your mind in the midst of whatever you're being faced with and challenged with. But yeah, I definitely just send that love your way to you as well.
Thank you, and I received that. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, we're gonna segue into what we call the mother-daughter moments, and I'll never forget one day you and we had a conversation, and it came up about you talked about one thing you were really glad that your mother taught you, and she basically taught you the importance of your credit. And do you remember that conversation?
Yes, I think I do. Because
Okay.
it's something that, a lot of people struggle with, and the first thing that I say. I said, well,
Yeah.
hey, my mom made sure that I knew that this was the real deal, and this is really important in order for me to do well in life. So.
Yeah, yeah. And I wanted to know because, of course, not all parents or children know the importance of it, and it's just due to different situations. It could have been whatever. But for a parent who would like to know more of how to explain to their children the importance of credit and just finances, what are some helpful tips that you could give them?
Well, you reach children where they are, and I think most children start talking about money once they start asking for allowance, or they get that first job, and that's when you introduce the importance of saving. So if you have something to save, if you have a savings, then you always have something to fall back on, and you don't have to dig into it every day or every week when you need your money. And the importance of credit. Now I've been talking to my son about this because in the next year and a half, he's going to go off to college. Oh, God willing, and he's going to be faced with the temptation of getting a credit card, and he's going to want to use that because for food or clothes or what have you. And this is what I have already started talking to him about: is your credit is your word. That's the best way I can equate it. And if you have that credit and you really, really want something, whether it's that nice car, because, a lot of, boys like cars, and, a lot of women do too. But, if it's that nice car that you want, or if you'd like to, travel the world or see something and you really want to, charge something, the hotel or the airline ticket, if you have no credit, if nobody will give you any credit, then you're stuck. But then you have to save and save and save. Or this is another thing. If you don't have established credit, then people think they can't trust you. Whether it's the lender at the bank for, a house, or, like I said, a vehicle just to get back and forth to work. Your credit is your word, and that's the indicator of how well you can be trusted. So you always, always, always want to pay your bills on time. You always want to pay your credit cards down. If you charge something, think about how long it's going to take you to get it to get the credit card balance to zero, because people are looking at you, and you always want to be able to say, I can be trusted. You can give me credit. I'm going to pay you back.
Right. That's good. And basically just moving on into what are your girls teaching you about yourself?
Well, I have some accountability people here. And if I tell them that I don't want to eat more than 12 potato chips, they're going to count.
Wait a minute.
Yeah. Oh, you say 13? Oh, yeah. On my left hand and my right. If I tell them my goal is to work out, now this is where it comes into handy.
Okay.
If I tell them that I set my goal for working out, about 3 or 4 times a week, they're counting. They may not bother me with it every day, but my 5-year-old, who enjoys doing home workouts with me, she'll say, Mommy, you've only worked out 2 times this week.
Uh-oh.
Oh, well,
Look.
let me get up and put my Put my pants on.
I
And
love it.
my
I love it.
speakers and get this on in. So they're just teaching me. I just got through telling you about it, how important your word is. They are teaching me that I need to keep that word. If I say I'm going to do something, that I need to do it. So.
That is awesome. and basically, like, what are some things that, you know, mothers and daughters could do daily to strengthen their bonds?
Well, I don't know why I get a kick out of asking them what is the best part of your day and what is the worst part of your day, and actually sharing, you know, a little bit about your day with them. Mm-hmm. So just talking about the good, the ups and the downs, and just actually listening. You know, sometimes you really and truly have to make yourself engage or really get wrapped up into fourth grade drama, even though you don't want to be.
Oh,
but you
wait,
have to
all right.
You have to engage and have that, oh, really, that's all that happened? Okay, good. You know, well, let's get ready for dinner. No,
right.
you have to say, what happened next? You know, and I wanted to make sure that they understand that if anybody listens to me, or if I can talk to anybody, it'll be my mom. I want them to feel like that about both their parents. But, you know, my husband isn't comfortable talking about everything, and he won't be comfortable talking about everything as they blossom into beautiful young ladies. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I want them to trust me I want to gain their trust with a little, so that later on they can trust me with a lot.
Perfect. Well, that's awesome. Well, we're going to segue now into kind of a series of questions, and it just gives our audience an opportunity to get to know our guests even better. So let's get started. Are you ready?
I hope so.
Okay, what book most influenced you?
Besides the Bible, The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz.
Okay. What keeps you grounded?
What keeps me grounded is humble beginnings. Knowing from whence I came, and knowing that I want to vibrate and elevate higher and higher and higher, not just for myself, but for people around me, especially my children who are watching me.
Okay. What are 3 qualities that got you where you are today?
I will say qualities. Perseverance, persistence, because I rarely take no for an answer, and knowing the power of prayer. A lot of peace.
I know, right? Look.
I didn't do that on purpose.
Oh, look. I said, okay. When you said perseverance, because I rarely take no for an answer, I'm like, okay, that's what's up. What question do you wish more people asked you?
That's a tough one. What questions do I really wish people would ask me? I don't know. I have no idea. Well, what makes me happy? A lot of people don't ask that question.
Okay.
But I would like people to ask me what makes me happy. Yep.
Okay, well, how about this? What makes you happy?
Lots of things. Simple pleasures. Rainy days. A good book. Alone time. And I know I'm in a house with 5 people and a dog, alone time. I know that sounds a little introverted and antisocial, but I grew up as an only child, and sometimes I want to hear my voice. I don't get a chance to hear it a lot. So it makes me happy to have some alone time. And what makes me happy is making other people happy. Whether I have baked them their favorite cake cooked them their favorite meal, or if they, needed a dime or a dollar, or I was able to let somebody in front of me. I just want to be able to put a smile on somebody's face.
Perfect. What is the last thing that you binge watched?
13 Reasons Why.
All right. I totally understand, because I watched it with Zaria, and we had to, but it was that was long. And even like the first day, it's like we had to wait, and then we skipped a few of the episodes. I can't front. The next day, it was kind of like, let's do the summary.
Drawn out.
Yeah.
They dragged those episodes on out, but
I was like, oh. I feel you, so I told
you. I was gonna miss something.
Well, yeah. I was like, okay, let's get to the end. Let's do this. Read the summary under Wikipedia, because I think they had it, girl. I was like, whatever. But we get it, Hannah. We get it. But no, what's something that every woman should do once in her lifetime?
Travel overseas with some of her best girlfriends.
Okay. What's advice you would give to a woman with a broken heart?
That it's going to take time, but it will definitely, 100%, without a doubt, heal. Perfect.
Well, we're going to segue into our faith segment. And in this segment, I love for our guests to share, a time when their faith was tested and how they came through it. And that's really to encourage someone, because they need to hear it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow. Well, the first time I lost somebody that was really, really near and dear to me. I had a close-knit family growing up, and as an only child, I was at my grandparents' house a lot. And when I began to slowly lose my grandfather to natural causes, but it was a really slow death, and, dementia really caused his demise. And it had a lot of wear and tear on my mother, which is, his oldest daughter, and my grandmother, his wife of 63 years, and my aunts and uncles. And so I saw it really tearing them apart and causing a lot of, family havoc. And so I said, why, Lord? Why? Why the suffering? Why the pain? And, I also had questions that, when I lost him, I was glad that he was no longer suffering. But, when you lose somebody, you begin to have these, why, Lord, why? Mm-hmm. And it just seems as though, I know it's a natural occurrence. It's a circle and a cycle of life. But I began to just be angry because that was really the first person that was that close to me that I had lost. Okay. And I knew from other people telling me that, again, just like I gave you that broken-hearted woman that advice, that this too shall pass and time will heal, that I was just angry. And again, time did heal. I'm not over the loss of my grandfather, and I just recently lost my dad, so I was like, oh God, here we go again. But yeah, that was when my faith was really, really tested, having to see my family go through, and then losing the patriarch of our family was really tough.
Yeah. And yeah, I know you shared about that. I saw, on the internet, and definitely sent prayer on your way, because you all seem to be very close. With your dad, and so that it touched a lot. So, but just one day at a time, though. I mean, as it relates to allowing healing, to take place, and to be able to talk about it and to even share, I think that's a big deal. So So
Yes,
thank
yes,
you.
because anytime I would talk about any of those losses, either one of them, my bottom lip would quiver, and I just wasn't ready. And so, again, it to me, I feel like I've come a long way, and I know that the spirits of these men were too big to ever be broken, because energy cannot be created nor destroyed. So I know they're with me. I know that they're with me.
Yes. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Every step of the way. Just when you,
Yep.
and that's the beauty of it, isn't it?
Yes.
Where it's like,
Yes.
they may not be here physically, but you're like, I know you're there. So that's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
That's beautiful.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I know it definitely will be a blessing to someone.
Thank
Um,
you.
Thank you. You're welcome. And we're going to get into our closing segment. It's called Matters of the Heart Moment. And
Mm-hmm.
so, if you had the opportunity to speak to your 4-year-old self, Sheree, what would you say to her?
Oh my goodness, sweet 4-year-old Sheree. That even though images on television, images in magazines, don't make you feel your self-worth, you are more than worthy. You are beautiful. You are smart, and you have the brains to one day make a strong impact on this world. And I would just make sure that my 4-year-old self didn't feel down on herself, because not a whole lot of people who were glorified and glamorized looked like her. And that even though it was 1979, it was still not a whole lot of, brown people being glamorized for being the beauties that they were. So I would just tell my 4-year-old self, keep growing, keep being beautiful, and continue not taking no for an answer.
Perfect. Perfect. And who motivates you?
Who motivates me right now? My family as a collective. My husband, because he's very successful. He's a go-getter and a motivator. And my children, because even though I'm going back to school as an adult learner, and they are all 3 in school, and I work full-time, I want them to be able to say, oh, wow, my mother did this with 3 kids and a job and a dog, and all sorts of my activities with all my sports and Girl Scouts and all sorts of things. I definitely know I can do it.
Yeah, yeah. And what is the best piece of advice you've ever gotten?
The best piece of advice that I've ever gotten. Sometimes you will get knocked down, but you just got to make sure that when you get knocked down, that you dust your knees off and get back up again. Everybody gets knocked down. It's just how many times you get back up.
Okay. Is there anything, any last minute piece of advice you want to share with our audience?
That even though, and I hate to sound cliche, even though it may seem like it's abstract or that it's not something that's your thing to do, I encourage everybody to make a vision board. Last year, my husband did some painting, and I realized that I had kind of tucked my vision board away in my office, so he had to move the furniture. And when I came in from being out of town, when I walked in, I saw my vision board right in the foyer of my home, and I began to cry. I think I still had my bags on my shoulder, and the door was kind of still open. And the reason why I started crying was because everything on my vision board I had accomplished that year.
Oh. Wow, that
whether
is awesome.
you talk about it, whether you broadcast it, whether you share it with close friends and family, or it's just your little thing, put it out there. Put it out there as a want. Put it out there as a dream. Put it out there as something that is tangible for you. And if you believe it, you can achieve it. And make that vision board and watch the magic happen.
Wow. So you've created another one then, since those things have already been accomplished. It's time for another vision board.
Oh, boy. Oh, yeah. It's April, and I said I was going to do one at the beginning of this year. And, well, basically, it's May. I said I was going to do one, but it's not too late. I'm definitely going to make sure I get it done. It doesn't have to be as fancy as the other one, but whether I cut out things from a magazine and put them on a nice, piece of cardstock, I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to do it.
Awesome. Well, that is beautiful. And Sheree, thank you so much for sharing with us today and just being with us. You really have been such a blessing.
Oh, thank you. I'm so honored to have the opportunity to be a part of this podcast, and I admire the Flora Pearl Foundation. I admire what you're doing, and the voice that you have for empowering women and mother-daughter relationships and career planning. You are doing your thing, and I'm glad to be a part of it.
Perfect. Well, thank you again so much, and I appreciate those encouraging words. I really do.
All right, thank you. God bless.
God bless you. And our goal at the Flora Pearl Foundation is to be a blessing to all of those that we come in contact with by operating with the spirit of excellence. We want to thank you all so much for listening today, and you can visit our website at www.florapearlfoundation.org. We look forward to spending time with you all each week, and we will talk to you soon.